How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Goosebumps number 20. This one is entitled The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. Really cool title there. Gives you the fun creature and the spooky time of night. It's really cool. Kind of wonder if it's a reference to the Italian film Death Walks at Midnight. A really fun giallo film for the older crowd, though. But anyway, this was, of course, written by R.L. Stine and originally came out May 1994. And from what I gather, this is a bit of a fan favorite. There's a lot of people who really like this book and remember getting really scared by those scarecrows as a kid. And I can see it. This is a really solid entry. I'm not head over heels for this, as a lot of people are, but again, I did think it was really solid. Scarecrows, a really fun creature, and a lot of what R.L. Stine did with Goosebumps was utilize really fun horror characters that didn't necessarily get their time to shine as often as they should have, and scarecrows are definitely one of those. Look at this guy in his field, hanging on his sticks. It's midnight. A cool cover. Thank you once again to Tim Jacobus there. So yeah, if you're fans of scarecrows, this is a good book for you. And also, the whole atmosphere. This thing has a ton of atmosphere. Country houses, late at night. I think I heard something out there. Surely that scarecrow's just moving in the wind, right? Isolation of a country farmhouse, that's a really good place to start. As I said, I totally get why this one has a cult following. But also, as I said, I'm not 100% with this. Again, very good, solid entry. But there are a few problems. For example, the plot. You basically know what happened at this farmhouse and where we're going. It's not the most complicated, mysterious plot ever. We get the gist of it pretty early on. The story's still fun, but you kind of know where it's going. Also, there's a bit in the middle where it does drag. A whole bunch of the main character blaming Styx for the scarecrows and going, "It's just a prank, isn't it?" And that does go on a little bit too long, and we also get the younger brother in this book does complain a little bit too much. Again, I don't want to say this book's bad or anything, but it definitely does have some flaws. But still, a really, really solid entry. Without further ado, let's talk a little bit about that plot. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, but I do want to do a little bit of a deeper analysis, but don't worry, I won't talk about the ending. Anyway, we open up with these two siblings going to their grandparents' house. They're a couple of city kids, and they're going to stay in the country for the summer. It's something they've done a whole bunch of summers before. We get two different perspectives. Jody is our narrator, and she really likes going out with her grandparents and being in the country. Unfortunately, she's the one with the bad allergies, so she can't enjoy it as much as she'd want. But then her younger brother Mark doesn't really care for it as much. He just kind of wants to sit on the patio and play his Game Boy all day. He wants a nice, lazy summer vacation. Can't really blame him there. But anyway, they go to see their grandparents this year, and things are a little bit strange. You know, they look forward to Grandma's chocolate chip pancakes and Grandpa's scary stories. But, oh, I don't want to make the pancakes, and I don't remember if I know how to do that anymore. And Grandpa's like, "I don't want to tell you scary stories. Those are stupid." And then you get things like Grandpa walking with a cane. He always had a little bit of a limp, but now he has a cane. And even though there are other more fantastical horror elements in here, I really do feel like he's grounding his story in a bit of reality. You know, a lot of what Stine does in Goosebumps even fantastical, does have real-world application and is a way for kids to experience and think about these stuff. And one thing I really liked with Scarecrow Walks at Midnight is he's talking about your grandparents getting older. Because when you're a kid, you know your grandparents are old, but it doesn't really set in. And then as you grow up, you start to think about the world and your situations more, and that coincides with your grandparents getting even older. And there's always that one moment in someone's life where they realize, oh man, my grandparents are really old. Are they going to be okay? And this is fiction. It's a good place to introduce these thoughts and give them time to process. So I really did appreciate the real world segment of this book. But the grandparents seem a little bit afraid. And they're, for some reason, afraid of their farmhand, Stanley, who seems to be a nice, simple, but kind of strange man. He'll say and do things that are kind of weird and not how you would normally say or do them. Stanley, did you eat any of the corn? Only at dinner. Well, when else would you eat it, Stanley? Or he hears the ages of the kids, 11 and 12. Why, together that makes 23. It does, Stanley, but why did you add them together? And then he'll be driving by someone's house. They don't farm their land anymore. Why is that, Stanley? They died. Well, yeah, that's one way to put it. Probably should have led with that. But he's always saying these strange things, these things that, you never really know what he's going to say. And then he says, "The Scarecrows Walk at Midnight," the title of the book. And he says that he read that in his superstition book, which is probably not a good thing for him to have. And the main character, Jody, has to wonder, is that just a weird thing he said? Is there any merit to it? I mean, scarecrows don't get off their pedestals and walk, right? And midnight, I'll be fast asleep, right? So I wouldn't even notice. But then she's lying in her room, and she thinks she hears something, and she looks out the window. It's not quite midnight, but the scarecrows are twitching a little bit. And okay, they're surely just moving in the wind, right? And we do get some really fun sequences in this book. She at one point is in a barn and thinks one of the scarecrows is there. She has a really terrifying dream. There's lots of cool stuff here. As I said, though, it does drag a bit in the middle. In particular, Stanley has a son, Styx, and he gets blamed for a lot of this stuff. They say, "Oh, Styx, you're just pranking us." And that does get a little repetitive. And it's kind of sad that it gets repetitive because Stanley's son, Styx, is actually a really interesting character. You get the sense that he's in the country, he doesn't have too many friends that are his age, and he's trying to reach out to Jody and Mark. He knows them because they come over every summer, but even though he's trying to reach out, it never quite clicks, You're playing pranks on us. You're mean. Stop it. And what, do you think you're better than us because we're city kids and you're a country kid? And even though he is trying to reach out, it just never quite works, and you feel sad for him. And props to R.L. Stine for getting this across while still writing the book from Jody's perspective. But yeah, poor Styx is going to get blamed for a lot of this. And the middle section, it does drag a little bit when we get too much of that. But it does, it does have a really good foundation, this book, Scarecrows, midnight, creepy farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. And even though at points it's not the best, and we do know it's like, Stanley has a superstition book, and Grandma and Grandpa are afraid of him, we kind of know the building blocks of this plot. But it still does lead to a pretty fun finale, and what can I say? Scarecrows are creepy. Good to see more of them. So, not my favorite, but I can see why it has a cult following, and I can definitely recommend this, especially if you're in the mood for a good creepy Scarecrow book. with a good bit of atmosphere. Anyway, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Goosebumps playlist. I've talked about quite a few of them, including number 1, Welcome to Dead House, and Night of the Living Dummy, so there are quite a few books in here that I've reviewed. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Relevant playlist on the bottom. Have a good day now.